see us come up here. And here we are, and I'm going to start the music and let's play. So here we want to be. Can you hear it? Dance with me.
So you wanna be
A cool kid. Well, hanging with the inset. Woo-hoo. Looking real. Cool and fine.
So you wanna be
Here we come to the drum roll. Bop, 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 bop. There we go. Thank you very much to the very talented Serge Hoffman in Paris for putting music and doing the vocals for the song I wrote called So You Want to Be for a website I bought 20 years ago and never wrote the book to go with it. I'm Bonnie D, and I'm here with my new friend, recent friend, Ron R. How are you, Ron? Welcome to We Dish. How are you?
Lovely to be here. Glad to be here.
I'm
Delighted to be
glad.
here.
I'm glad too. I'm gladder than you are. You were a guest on one of my, I'll say, short-lived shows called Next at the Mic last year that I did for Voice America Variety, and I got to meet you because you are, or until recently, you're a host as well as I am. I was
Mhm.
on Voice America. Which channel were you on?
Variety as well.
Variety as well, and I'm on empowerment and on business and sometimes on variety as well. So here we are on We Dish, and we're just going to have fun chatting, Ron. We're going to talk. We're going to talk a little entertainment and a little bit of music and maybe a little bit of food and about some movies. And I might pop some questions on you. And just so you know, this is not a hot seat interview. Anything I propose or ask, I will answer too. So it's a shared
Okay.
conversation. Okay. So, and I have to tell you, you have the honor, I think, of being my 19th cool dude.
Mm.
Tomorrow is the 20th, and then next week I have two more. So if anybody knows any really, really cool dudes and they want to get in touch with me, find me, bonnieradio@gmail.com. So I have a nice introduction for you. I think you will enjoy it. So bear with me here and
Mhm.
let me see what your response is. So here we go. You may know us well. Bonnie D and Ron are too. Seasoned in life, and we love what we do. From LinkedIn's halls to social's embrace, we love sharing insights in our savvy people space. Now, here on We Dish, we're here to play, lightening up life in our uniquely fresh way. With Ron R., a cool dude I'm proud to call my friend, here's my rhyming intro, then more details he may lend. The story of Ron, a lifetime of the pen and the press. When Bonnie D speaks with Ron R., she appreciates his finesse. In Brooklyn, Ron R. started, but Long Island called, Ron, 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 where farmland and forest stood proud and tall. A childhood spent in nature's embrace with birds in the sky and the wind in his face. At Whitman and Syosset High, he sharpened his mind, a scholar, a writer, true talents combined. The editor's chair, his passion took flight, with Newsday's award bringing dreams into sight. Ron's mother, a teacher of art and of prose, saw in her young son what his future proposed. Though science had beckoned, Ron, with pathways so wide, Ron followed the pen with the press as his guide. At Yale, he learned, he wrote, he explored, interning summers where headlines soared. Yet rather than jump to an easy career, Ron sought out the depth, knowledge his goal clear. In Annenberg next, he charted a course, a master of visuals with knowledge in force. Though friends were confused, Ron never looked back. His journey was his, not a well-trodden track. With Ray, his brother, he aimed for the sky, a magazine venture. They gave it a try. But timing and fate were not on their side, a lesson in business, in patience and pride. Freelancing, I'm not even halfway done. Freelancing followed. This is your life. Freelancing, that's why I have to rename the show. Freelancing followed an editor's call. Then Newsday returned with a rise and a fall. A trailblazer first, Ron wrote on workplace with zeal. Then national news and politics real. Yet reporting on conflict was not what he sought. Ron's heart was in stories with meaning well wrought. Real estate he covered, then a love story grew. Betty Ann entered, and their life started new. Their wedding, a moment so joyous, so bright, a father's last blessing, a memory of light. Then twins in their arms, a future so wide, a father, a writer with purpose and pride. Championing positives in aging, Ron shifted his lane. Newsday's Act Two with seniors' wisdom to gain. The new section debuted, then boldness took hold, and Ron left to pursue more stories that were untold. Now on weekly 45 Forward Radio, Ron's voice with flair, guiding post 45s with encouragement to spare, and his caregiving navigator guide is lighting the path for families with aging loved ones, solid advice at last. A speaker, a leader with passion always bright, not slowing down, still soaring in flight. For Ron R., his journey continues on cue, the second half better, fresh dreams to pursue. He's joining me here with wit and his grace on We Dish to Saucy Dame and Cool Dude, welcoming Ron R. to my space. What do you think? Ron?
Wow. I think Homer's got nothing on you.
I had a little help, and I'll tell you about it later. I'm going to finish this. We're here on Way Dish, chatting on Life's Score, culture, music, food, and oh, so much more. Join us live or on demand, day or night. We won't be here, but find us. That's why they invented on demand. Enjoy our dishing with shared delight. Meet us for real in our live streaming glow. Comments are welcome. Just play nice. We know who you are. We know. We dish two Saucy Dame and Cool Dude too. Bonnie D and Ron R. Dishing on life's fun. Pour vous. A little bit of French. So, how'd I
Wow.
do? What do you think?
Wow, I think that's great. I think that yeah, I think that's an epic poem that should go along with the Iliad and the Odyssey. You know, my
I
story. I like it.
I was on an Odyssey, yes. And I asked my guests, as you know, for a what we call an origin story bio. Some send bullets, some send first person, some send third person, some send more. Somebody said to me, you should limit the number of words, Bonnie D. And I say, no, I'm just interested in anything you have to say. And then I
Right.
turn it into a rhyming bio. I don't call it a poem, I call it a rhyming bio. I'm glad you liked it. So I wanted
Yeah.
to honor you. Did we leave anything out, Ron? Anything I left out?
Nothing that can't be left out. You know, you can't include everything. No, you can't include everything. You got to make some choices in life, as you well know. And so I think that was great. And I can fairly much say that I have never gotten and probably will never get another introduction quite like that. It's amazing, amazing.
I'm glad. I do this for all my guests on Cool Dude, and I do a 6 line rhyming bio for my guests on my Technology Revolution show and for guests on my Read My Lips Cool Conversations with Creative show. So just I'm going for a Guinness record somewhere of the only host who writes poems. But anyway, I'm glad
Yeah.
you enjoyed it, and I was very honored that you shared so much of your life in the bio you sent me. So thank you.
You're
That was the food for thought. There we go. See?
quite welcome. Yeah.
Hey, now it's time. Cool dude songs. What songs, what music inspires you, brightens you, lightens you? What do you love to listen to? What tells the story of your life? Any way you want to approach that, Ron.
Wow. Well, I had a lot of songs, and I was looking at them and realizing that a lot of my songs are really like, they're like about love. I'm like, well, that's interesting.
Why not?
Yeah. So I said, well, I can't pick all of those, but let me, um, and you sent me some suggested songs too, which were very helpful, get my thoughts going. So I picked three that uh, I thought, there are a lot of songs tell something about me, but one song I really like that I realize that I get invigorated every time I hear it, mostly at sporting events, is Queen's song, "We Are the Champions."
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like, wow, that's sort of like, da, da, like you just, like you feel it
We
and
are the champions.
of the world, and it really, it's an empowering song. You run the empowerment channel, it's empowering and it's feel like,
Yeah.
we've done this, we can do it and we will do it. So, that's something that I think is important for people to feel the ability to be successful and powerful and to, inspire themselves. Um, and it's a crowd song too. Like it's everyone is singing it. So that's one song that I
Well, that's
really.
cool. And do you think that could be a good song for your 45 forward for your crowd, for your tribe, for your posse,
Yeah, well,
thinking that you know, keep on going as
yeah.
even though you're over. Well, you define senior as 45 plus. Is that how you define that demographic or that
N-
cohort?
No, I don't. I don't.
How do you
I
define that demarcation?
Well, it's basically the theory behind the 45 forward is twofold. One is that we have a pretty much of a script up to midlife. You grow up, you go to school, you go to college, you get married, you get kid, family, the career, and then you reach this midlife period where you're like, okay, well, what's next? Wait a minute, there's no script now, so it's up to me to figure it out. So, often people, talk about like, well, the ARP age, 50 plus. I'm like, I want to get people to think about it a little ahead of time. It's like, what is the rest of my life going to be about like? Because if I do a little bit of thinking, I don't have to have a discrete plan, but if I think about it, what do I want? What's my purpose? What do I want to think about? What do I need to be successful? And we're living longer and longer. So, by the time you're 50, you are, hopefully just at midlife. And if you think about it and you take care of yourself and you plan, you could live a vital life all the way through. So, my tagline is make the second half of life even better than the first.
I like
And
that.
the reason I picked 45 was that I wanted people to get a little ahead of that 50-yard line, number one.
Hmm.
And number two, somebody told me that I hadn't realized that as a sort of a sports analogy, if you want to throw a football and you want the maximum distance, what angle do you throw it at?
Hmm.
45 degrees.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's how you can get the maximum distance on baseball or football. So that's what's also part of it. Like, all right, if you think a little bit ahead of the 50 or 60, then you could get maximum distance in the rest of your life and maximum efficiency, effectiveness, and meaning, you know.
I like that. I think I think when I got close to 50, I won't admit to much more than that. Thank you very much. I'm just over the cusp of being able to watch your 45 forward. I want you to know that, Ron. We're friends. You
Okay.
can deal with that. I think I started lying about my age and I added a year because I didn't want to understand or accept 50. So I started telling my kids I was going to be 51. And my son came to me and said, "Why are you pushing the clock forward like that? Why are you skipping a year?" And I said, "Because I just can't accept that 50. It's such a big number to me that I didn't think of it as a halfway. Maybe I did. It just bothered me. And so I thought, well, let me just skip ahead to 51, which is just a nicer number. And nobody, oh, you're 51, big deal. But you're 50, wow, put the flags out in the street and you're
Right.
entering. It's like going to some place. And I didn't want to do that. I think I did the same at 35. I told him I was 36 or 37. I don't know why. It's just a quirky little thing. So I like that. We are the champions. I think that could be a banner song for people after 50
Yeah. Yeah.
as they approach. So what's your second song?
My second song is New York State of Mind, Billy Joel. And, from what I understand, this is Billy Joel wrote this song when he returned from LA to New York. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and again, it's one of these songs where you hear it at, Yankees games or
Yeah.
Yankees games. And it's like, again, it's not as rah-rah as We Are the Champions, but to me, it is a New York state of mind. So I like that notion that it's not the state; it's a state of mind, and it's not. Yeah, so I guess it is oriented toward the city, um,
Yeah.
but having grown up on Long Island when when it
Me
was
too.
rural, right? Yeah,
Yep.
when it was mostly rural. That so I like New York State, the whole damn state.
Well, I
With
say
it,
to sometimes I say to people, and I deal with people on my technology show, especially people from all over the world. Many of them are in Europe and they seldom come to the US. But I say, can you tell where I'm from? And most of them say you're from New York. And I say, but I don't have a New York accent. And they say it's the speed at which you talk. Something about we could tell you're a New Yorker. You're at that level of energy. I'm known for my energy, people say, and they identify that energy with New York. So you're a cool dude with a New York state of mind. I
yeah,
like that.
and I feel that too. It's again, I am proud of being New Yorker in a broad sense in terms of what it represents. It's not about being elite. It's about that this is where my my family came from
Mm-hmm.
diverse places. It
Yep.
is, the melting pot.
Yep.
It is diverse. I don't care what the current political climate is. I like
Okay.
diversity. I like diversity. I think diversity is invigorating. It's stimulating. It leads to innovation and creativity. So that's the New York state of mind that I like to celebrate. It's not like, oh, I'm from New York. I'm the sports team. It's
Yep.
I like my sports teams. I'm not a rabid fan. I don't paint my
Mm-hmm.
face. I enjoy them if they win. That's great, but it's not that team spirit. It's the people that I have met here and will be continue coming here and going other places too. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a lot of my family has gone other places. My one of my brothers is in South Carolina, another one, um, other my nephews are well, one's in Tennessee and one is in Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
and I still have a lot of family in Mexico, and so it's really the New York State of Mind is sort of a celebration of who we
Mm-hmm.
are, as
Yeah,
people.
that's an interesting way of putting it. Yes, who we are. Yes, I think we bring that with us. I was born in Queens, and my parents built a house in Douglaston, not in McEnroe, Douglaston by the water, but in Douglaston where they built the Long Island Expressway. They dug it half a block from our house. So
Oh,
they created a dead end with the houses across the street were on that dead end with the guardrail, and then the LIE sunk down. It used to be Horace Harding Parkway when my parents built, and I was on a street that we faced what was called Overbrook Street. It's still there, I believe. The house was sold after my dad passed and my mom moved. I could never go back, Ron. I never wanted to see that lot being rebuilt. That was
wow,
my home. It
wow.
was sacred to me. But it was funny because the front of our house faced Overbrook Street. Our neighbors on the side faced 54th Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
They went to PS 94 in Little Neck. I went to PS 98 in Douglaston. So I got on a bus and went down to Douglaston Manor. None of my neighbors went there because of where my house faced. Literally the house, two houses next door. This one went to PS 94. I went to 98, and my sister did, which was very interesting how they decided the division of uh, the geographic delineation, if you will, of what was a district in those days. So neighbors living next door to each other went to different schools. My school was right at the Douglaston Railroad Station, which was very interesting. And it was far, it was several miles. It was a bus ride. And the other ones went on a bus ride, but it was a little closer to home. So very interesting. So I remember.
Yeah, I remember those days too, Bonnie. It was and I kind of like when people these days I see, you know, I'm sorry, this is a little bit of me like, oh, come on, kids. They get picked up in front of their house, and then two houses down, they get picked up front of there. And like you, I had to walk, down a hill and up a
Mhm.
hill. That was probably about a quarter of a mile, to pick up the bus because they didn't feel like picking me up in front of my house. And but we never complained. It was like, all right, whatever.
How dare
And
they?
I know, but
I know. I
but
didn't
is
have a
it?
choice. The bus stop was a block and a half away for elementary school, and I had to make that long, long walk. And it was like a block and a half from the house, and I was 5 or 6 years old. But it was safe. It was safe for a 5 or 6 year
That's
old
true.
girl to go across the street
That,
and go one block without mom walking her. In the beginning, they walked me, and then I went by
yeah, this is
myself.
true. This is
But it
true.
was, and I was blonde in those days, and I still have very curly hair. You can't tell right now. And the bus driver used to call me, "Hey, Curly."
Hey, Curly. Yeah.
Ray, the bus driver. I'll never. I have nice memories. I do. I have memories of going to a play date with my friend Pamela, who lived on the other side, another block up from me, and her mother made this horrible mac and cheese for lunch with the stinkiest cheese, and it tasted horrible. And she sat there and watched us and made us eat this macaroni and cheese for lunch when
Wow.
I visited Pam. I never liked to have a play date with her because her mother made this horrible. I'm sorry, never told this story in public. I'm not giving a last name. If she knows who
There
she
you
is, if
go.
they're still alive, I'm sorry. It was fun playing with you, but I don't like the mac and cheese. Anyway, what's your third song, Ron?
Okay, my third song is so I had a lot of these songs that I realized were sort of love songs, and so this one I
Hmm.
said, well, So this one is "If We Only Have Love," Jacques Brel.
Oh, français.
From Jacques Brel. I think it's from Jacques Brel is alive and well, living in Paris. I think was it's
Do you
the
have the
album.
French translation of the title?
Uh, I don't, but you
I'll have
probably
to
know it.
I'll have to look it up afterwards. What is the name
Okay.
again? The song?
If we only have love, and
If we only
it's the last song on the album, and I guess why it's meaningful to me is well, first of all, when I heard it, it wasn't when I was an undergraduate at Yale, and there was a group of students actually who performed all the songs,
mm-hmm.
and I was just knocked out, not by all the songs. This was the concluding song. But I had frankly I hadn't heard of Jacques Brel before, and
Mm-hmm.
I not surprisingly bought the album. Um, but it was just there are lots of songs. I mean, like I looked at one of the songs. Well, at my wedding, my song for my wife was "When a Man Loves a Woman."
Oh, I went to see that movie at the Paris Theater in Manhattan
There you
with
go.
the man who became my husband. I was at Sarah Lawrence College and he was at Yale, and we had a date on a Saturday, and we went to the Paris Theater and saw. Uh, yes, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, right. And then I liked "Our Love Is Here to Stay."
Oh my
Michael
goodness
Michael
gracious!
Feinstein has a really nice version of that.
And
But I
by the
like
way,
this.
the title in French is Quand on n'a que l'amour.
Okay.
When love is all you have.
Oh,
When on n'a que l'amour, meaning that's all you have. Quand on n'a que l'amour. I put it in the chat for you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I
no,
wanted to
that's okay.
get
Yeah,
that
it's
screen over with. Go ahead.
interesting. So it's a little different from the English. If we only have love,
Yeah. Quand
and
is
French
when.
says when we. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a greater sentiment than just personal, romance, and
Hmm.
just about the sense of okay. I mean, you go back to the Beatles, right? All we need is love, right?
Yeah.
So that
All you
yeah,
need is love. Da
right,
da da da
right,
dum. I try
right.
not to sing on my shows. It ruins it. My Saucy Dame songs, Ron, tend to
Yeah.
go in the disco era and other eras like that. I used to teach dancing and I had my own classes,
Mm-hmm.
disco and Latin and hustle. And Dancing Queen by ABBA, Happy Dance
Ah.
by Mercy Me, which is a good one. I Feel Better When I'm Dancing by Megan Trainor is a much more modern one. I love that. And my theme songs tend to go toward Donna Summer. And
Mm.
I was a competitive dancer back in the day, back in the
Wow.
disco era. Entered a disco Hawaii contest with my partner Michael, and we danced to Heaven Knows, which is part of Donna Summer's MacArthur Park Suite, and it was a
Ah.
wonderful song. Lift over the top of the head, over the top of his, oh yeah, a lift over his head, and then the death drop to the floor and spun me around 6 inches above the floor, and then I righted myself, and then we did our routine. It was lovely. So Donna Summer titles to
Mm-hmm.
me are well, much well, description of the saga of my life. She works hard for the money, which I
Mm-hmm.
always have. Hot Stuff, which was about street ladies, but I'm
Mm.
not. But I've been called hot stuff in my day and probably recently too. On the radio, well, on the radio, dad.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I've been doing for 20 years. No More Tears, Enough is Enough. That was a duet, I think, with Streisand. No, enough is enough is enough. I can't. Anyway, I've had my share of tears. Last Dance. I don't dance anymore, but I've had many last dances when I was teaching and when I was dancing with people. I Feel Love. I Feel Love. Da, da. I love that Giorgio Moroder
Mm-hmm.
music
Mm-hmm.
machine and Heaven Knows from the Suite. And the other one I like is Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper
Oh, I
and
love that.
Groovin' by the Young Rascals. So
Yeah.
those are some of my songs I
Yeah,
identify
Young
with.
Rascals, boy, that was a big deal when they came
Groovin'
when they
on
came
a
to the senior
Sunday
prom. Yeah,
afternoon. Remember?
yeah, when they came, did it my brother's senior prom. The Young Rascals.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, it's hot stuff. Yeah, so
Cool.
I like that stuff. And my wife would love to go out with you. Whenever we go out to an
Hmm.
event, we're like, is there going to be dancing?
Really?
Yeah, my wife,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, especially we love it, and one of the things we love to dance. We're energetic dancers. One of the things that I've been meaning to do and promising, and I will get to one of these next year or two, is for Christmas presents, like let's do what we said we are gonna do, is take some dance lessons, some all kind of dance lessons with contemporary ballroom, just because that's and you know this, that when people talk about what's important, like getting exercise, the most effective exercise is dancing.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was teaching line dances to almost 200 people in a high school cafeteria in Eugene, Oregon.
Ooh.
And then I was teaching line dances at senior centers in Eugene, Oregon on my lunch hours. I was working as a
Mm.
program analyst and picking up a bagel and something from a local bagel store, running over to the senior center, teaching for an hour, and then running back to work. That was always fun. And Michael and I hosted parties at local discos in Eugene for our students, and the DJ would come down from his booth and dance with the ladies, mostly ladies taking our classes. And we did some exhibition dancing on stage for some large events. We were invited to do some hustle. And yeah, we had a lot of fun. And then we entered this Disco Hawaii contest. It was called the Copacabana was the nightclub.
Ooh.
It wasn't New York's, it was Eugene. And they
Wow.
knew us when we walked in and they gave us a free drink. And sometimes they had a rose for me. And it was just a lot of fun to be in that level. And we danced socially with a lot of people in a lot of places. And we just had a really good time. I have very fond memories. And we sewed our own costumes for the Disco Hawaii contest. And we didn't know that the people who won, she owned her own dance studio. She was a professional dancer and she entered an
Uh,
amateur Disco Hawaii contest. And
uh,
of course, yes. So we know how that one went. But anyway, we came in third and we had a really, really good
that's
time.
pretty good.
And we did our practicing in a classroom at the college where I was on staff. I was a program analyst for what was I doing in those days? Student services. Yeah, I was programming for the Community College Division of the state of Oregon. And these were FTEs and equivalents and just keeping track of data for the system. And that's what I was doing. So I got permission to use the classroom and we cleared all the desks and Michael and I would do our routine in the evenings after he would come from his job at the University of Oregon and I was there and I'd stay
Mm.
after work and we would do our practicing in that classroom. And it was very, very exciting. So
Wow.
yeah, we had hundreds and hundreds of students. People could recognize me from the back if I was in town, if I was dancing, and somebody say, "I know those legs anywhere. That's Bonnie D." it was
Uh-huh.
it was a lot of fun. We had a blast. So, okay, songs are done. Creativity superpower. Ron, and we didn't even mention your last name, and I'm going to say it once so that people
Okay.
might know you because we already identified your show is 45 Forward, and
Hmm.
it's Ron Roel, Roel. There, I've said it, and to me, he's Ron R, just so we know. And I
Hmm.
have to go back to one thing in the bio is you started the Act Two in Newsday, the Long Island newspaper,
Right.
and my mom and I were featured on the cover in a cover story when we started a TV show on public access TV, PATV, and Great Neck Lake Success. And it was called Senior Moments, the Happy Ones.
Mm.
And we would introduce ourselves. I'd say, I'm Bonnie D. I'm the junior senior. And my mother would say, I'm Ruth. And she would make up a middle name because her real middle name was Betty, Betty. And she'd say, I'm Ruth Bettina. And I'd say, but that's not. She'd say, well, I feel like being a Bettina today. And she said,
Mm.
oh, I'm Ruth Betty Ann or whatever she would say. She'd make up a name with the B. And it was always, and I never knew what she was going to make up. And I would introduce her as the senior. And we had I think we did 259 shows from the time she was 83 till the time she turned 100. She passed away a
Mhm.
month after the 100th, but we did a 100th birthday party for her on
Wow.
our show. And you and I didn't know each other then, but we were featured on the cover, and I sent you a picture of the cover from
I did. Yeah.
2008, I think,
Correct. Yeah.
of me and Ruth and me on the cover. So our lives, you and I have intersected without ever meeting each other until last year through Voice America, my show
Yeah.
next at the mic.
Yeah.
Small world. So what's your creativity superpower?
Creativity superpower. Curiosity.
Ooh, I like that. I like that's a theme on my creativity show, my Read My
Mm.
Lip show. So how does that define you or how have you been curious a little bit in your life?
Well, I think it's just about, if you maintain curiosity about life, you're always looking for something to learn and something you didn't know and something that can, inspire you or provoke you, in a thought provoking way. So I'm always amazed when people say, well, I wonder about this. And I'm like, that's it? You just wondered about it? I said, well, listen, there's this thing called Google, and it may not give you exactly what you wanted, but you can find out things. I mean, I think that um, it's, and yeah, so that, I think that started with, my background in nature, where I was out in the woods and I would be, you just see stuff around you, you're just curious about, like, hmm, that's interesting. I didn't know, like, in one of the exercises I did, okay, I was a Boy Scout when I was,
Ooh.
growing up, and so there was a nature study merit badge, and I remember, very distinctly that we grew up. There was a big field in back of us, and one of the assignments was just to sit for an hour and observe around you, and that was like for me that was just sheer joy.
Mm.
I'm like, just
That's mindfulness.
well,
That's called mindfulness, stillness. Be at one, listen to your breathing, observe what's around you, feel the environment. That's the new mindfulness, Ron.
yeah, it's mindful, but it's also a little more, I think, Bonnie, in terms of you're mindful, but so you're mindful of what's happening, and you're wondering, like, huh, where is that bee coming from? Oh, look at that.
Hmm.
Oh, look what it's doing.
Curiosity.
Yeah,
It's called being present too, being in the moment and not letting, well, in a way you're asking nature to distract you and say, what am I curious? What am I hearing? What am I seeing? What am I feeling? And you're exploring that. So very interesting.
yeah, and I
Very.
mean, I thought so. It came sort of out of science, but then that curiosity extended to journalism. It's like, I wonder what's going on here. Like, why
Hmm.
is that happening? Why is that not happening? So it's so you do need to ask questions, and you need to get out, and it kicks you out of your comfort zone. So it can be a little bit um, uh, difficult sometimes, but it makes you grow. It does.
That's how we grow, and but learning helps us grow, and being curious and making mistakes. That all helps us grow. Getting everything right all the time, we know you don't learn much from. It's like, wow, I got another award. Wow, I did everything right. Well, did you ever trip and fall? Did you ever make a mistake? Did you ever say the wrong word? That's how we learn. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Interesting. Speaking of journalism, I don't know if I told you this, but I was hired in quotes as a stringer for the Improper magazine on Long Island and Long Island Entertainment News. And how they paid me, Ron, was they gave me a press pass with free tickets to the Westbury Music Fair, which has been renamed several times. This was a
Right.
big entertainment venue. And I had a semi-permanent seat in 14A on the aisle. And
Wow.
this was a theater in the round, as you know. The stage
Right.
was round, and I think it rotated. And I saw I saw top of the line acts there. I was there doing a review, Patti LaBelle, Joan Rivers. Who else was there? The Smothers Brothers, if anybody remembers them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mom Liked You Better. I saw Johnny Mathis. I
Wow.
actually did a report on Johnny Mathis, and he called me. This was set up with his manager. And he called me. It was 9 o'clock in the morning. This is before cell phones, kids. And I got permission to tape the conversation on a tape deck on my
Mm.
desk. And I was given permission, and a voice called me. It was 6 o'clock in the morning for his time in California. And he said, "Hello, this is John Mathis. Is Bonnie there?" I melted and slid off my chair. It was like, oh my, I had been listening to him since I was 13 years old, 14
Wow.
years old in the basement with my 15 with my boyfriend. Anyway, very, very interesting. And we had a 2 hour conversation. I taped it and I wrote the back page article. And then I was invited to go backstage when I saw him. And I took my own photographs, Ron, of the stars when I went to I didn't have a photographer. So I had my press badge on and I took pictures from the 14th row with my Kodak DXL64, DX6490 digital camera.
Right.
Didn't have a cell phone camera. 6490. And I was able, without a flash, from the 14th row on the aisle, I was able to get a clear view of the stage and took phenomenal pictures of these
Mm.
stars. And
That's
my
great.
photograph accompanied the article. So I went backstage to see Johnny. and I met him, and we had spoken on the phone, and I said hello, and they had fans who'd paid extra to go back and meet him, one of those packages. And I met him, and I cried.
Wow.
And I said, you're one of my idols, one of my
Mhm.
singing idols. I just love your music. And people were shouting out from the audience, "We love you, Johnny. I love you." And he wrote, sang, yelled right back, "I love you too." It brought the house down. That was quite an experience. I interviewed Neil Sedaka on the phone. He wanted me to help sell tickets for him to one of his shows that wasn't doing
Jeez.
so well. And he had the purple piano on the stage, and
Wow.
Joan Rivers sat cross-legged on the stage, and you could see the soles of her shoes. And I got a picture of Joan Rivers sitting there on the stage, and she had all of her cue cards lined up on the edge of the stage. And I got a picture of her sitting there with her
Mm.
feet crossed on the floor of the stage of Westbury Music Fair. I'll send you. Basha was one of
Yeah.
my singing favorites, and I have pictures
Asha,
of her.
wow.
I was a stringer, and I wrote articles, and I have JPEG pictures of the articles, and I think I still have some of the Improper was a huge magazine. It was almost the size of a newspaper page, and it was glossy, and I got a byline inside from my article. So I was writing way back, and
Yeah.
I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved that. And I was curious, they said, "You want to write entertainment reviews for us?" And I said,
Mhm.
"Sure." And they said, "Okay, how about this one?" I said, "Fine, just leave the tickets at will call and I'll go in." And I had my press badge and I got my seat, and it was fun. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
really
And
fun.
as a kid too, it's really it's helpful to be curious, but it's also when you go into something like writing and journalism, then you have permission to do that. So you don't need to,
Yes,
it's like, oh, no, I'm supposed to
yes,
do that. I'm not
yes.
intruding. No, this is fine. Yeah.
My creativity superpower is
Yeah.
loving to talk to smart, interesting people.
Okay.
That's what I do. And that's why I keep inventing radio shows and venues to be able to talk to smart people. My
Hmm.
Technology Revolution show, I have a panel of four, sometimes seven, eight, nine, or 10 on my year-end prediction specials. And I
Hmm.
talk to four experts on a topic, on a different topic, and different experts every week of the year. And that's fun. And the Monday Read My Lips show, I talk to panels of three or four people who have created something in their life
Hmm.
from any venue, any profession, any business, anything, travel and cooking and doctors and coaches and counselors and experts in this and experts in that and authors. So anyway, so I think the curiosity is that's something you and I both share. And yes,
Yeah.
the phrase curiosity killed the cat
It did, but I'm not.
sometimes.
But then my response is, I'm not a cat.
And we're still here. Well, I'm working on my ninth life, so there you
Right
go.
there you go.
Did you have any New Year's resolutions, Mr. R?
Um,
Do you believe in them?
uh, well, I believe in them. They're okay. I do know that most people break down by the second week in February. Um,
That
so
late?
yeah, right.
That long?
Yeah, so I tend not to make them, but this year I actually wrote a story about that I had. My one resolution was to have the resolve to promote um, activities and a um, perspective that um, pushed for compromise and collaboration in what we do in life. So, in other words, that there's too much, look, in an era now where everyone talks about how divided we are. Oh, we're so divided as a nation, blah blah blah. And I feel that we're not that divided.
Mm-hmm.
Where, in many ways, if you sit down and actually have dinner with somebody who is supposedly on the other's political side from you,
Mm-hmm.
by the time you're done with what's really important to you, it's like, huh, okay, yeah, we have differences, but many times it's a matter of emphasis and degree, and
Mm-hmm.
different emphasis on the same, a different emphasis on the same values and a different approach to it. So
Interesting.
I so yeah, I years ago, um, I took a year course in collaboration and compromise. Um, I was in an organization that was having a lot of difficulty, and they brought in a guy who was an expert. And so I worked with him and a group of um, two or three other people. Originally, it started out with 20 people. Then people realized, oh, this is going to be some work. They dropped out. but I was very interested in it. And part of that's my nature. I'm a collaborative kind of guy. Okay, I'm a Libra or whatever, but the point is that
Libra,
it's
what's the date?
September 29th.
Okay, I'm first week of October. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, there we go, close enough.
close
My
enough.
sons are October 7th, so
Okay,
you're the 5th?
no,
You're the 7th?
yep.
Oh, all right. Um, anyway, but the point is, it's a discipline. Most people
Yeah.
think of compromise and collaboration as it's an impediment. It's laborious. It takes time. And my feeling is yes, but it sticks much better.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes there are necessary times when you have to vote because you need an outcome. But when you do it, you realize that there are winners and losers,
Yep.
and losers never forget.
Well, what does this have to do with your New Year's resolutions? Where are
But
we
well,
taking this?
my resolution is to work on projects that promote compromise and collaboration.
I like that. I like, but isn't that the secret compromise and collaboration to any relationship? Isn't that what they say about marriage, about business relationships? And when people fail to collaborate and fail to compromise, or somebody says, I won't, isn't that the parting of the ways? Really?
It is often, yeah, but there are many opportunities, in organizations that I'm involved in, and to when things come up is to promote that philosophy of dealing with things,
Hmm.
and the article I wrote was about the reconciliation project between Vietnam and the United States, which has
Hmm.
been going on for 50 years,
Yep.
and it's working slowly, but yeah, so the resolution is to be resolute in promoting that kind of philosophy of life,
I
So
like that. That's different from going on a diet or going to the gym
yeah,
more. That's what most people usually think of.
right,
They think of it in terms of an immediate something for self-improvement or for health improvement, something that's, oh, I made a resolution. Yeah, I'm going to eat fewer eggs this month, or I'm
right.
going to not watch as much TV. I like yours because it's a longer term. I
It is.
have a question for you. And I don't do resolutions anymore. I just plan each day. I think of at night, I think, what am I going to do tomorrow? And then I think, what do I have to do? What are the deadlines? Because my life is all deadline driven. I have
Hmm.
four, I still call them radio shows. And I also am now I was hired as a moderator for some very deep learning courses by SAP Press and Rhinework. And these are 5 hour segments, and I'm hired for moderating 100 hours between
Wow.
now and early June. And these are 1 or 2 days a week for 5 hours, where I'm introducing the instructor, I am introducing the breaks, and I am culling the questions from the paid students, the attendees,
Hmm.
and presenting them to the instructor and making sure that everybody gets acknowledged and the answers are there, or that we forward them to a Q&A or to a post-event follow-up. So
Hmm.
that's my job. So anyway, I wake up and I think, what am I going to do today? Is there something that's absolutely a deadline today that's on my calendar? Is it scheduled? And then I think, what is optional that isn't due today that I might want to do today, or do I want to save it for tomorrow or the day after? And there are things that might be due that week that I'll say, I'd rather do that on Thursday than on Wednesday because it's fun and I want to fill in my schedule with that thing. So
Hmm.
I think I do creative rescheduling, if you will, where something
Hmm.
is due and I say, I have a little leeway and I'm looking forward to that. I don't want to rush into it. I don't
Yeah.
know how many people do that. So I'm moving things around and I look at the calendar and say, what do I have to do today? What spare time do I have? What would I like to do in between? I'm still working on my novel. I'm getting closer. I'm cleaning it
Hmm.
up. It's in two parts and it's all over the place. And that's my goal. My resolution is to finish my book and get it self-published
Okay.
soon. And I keep picking a date, and the date keeps walking away from me, Ron. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it done when it needs to get done. That's
Yeah.
the
But
answer.
you're demonstrating what is called today resilience. And when
Yeah.
someone told me this saying, it's an old proverb that I hadn't heard of. I loved it. I'm not sure about the exact derivation, but it's a lot of spiritual backgrounds. And it goes like, um, blessed are the flexible, for they shall never be bent out of shape.
I like that very much. Was it in French? Don't even go there.
No, it was
Question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question for you. And I threw this one in because I thought it'd be fun. Uh, I just heard that somebody wants to make a movie about Ron Roel, based on this wonderful rhyming intro I did for you. And they were so intrigued. Breaking news. We're just playing along here. Who would play you? What would it be called?
Oh
And
boy.
who else would be in, what other movie stars or singers or dancers would be in the film? Off the top. This is the off the top segment. What do you think,
Wow.
Ron?
Okay. Who would play me?
Who
Wow.
would play you?
Um. So.
And would it
Uh,
be a comedy? Would it be a sci-fi? Would it be a drama? Would it be an action film? Would it be a romance, a rom-com? You like romance? You like love songs? Would it be a
yeah.
musical?
Yeah. So. So let's go way back. So when I was in fifth grade, Bonnie, I
Okay.
played Freddie in My Fair Lady. You know.
Okay. Who's Freddie? I don't remember Freddie.
Oh, Freddie's the guy who pines after Eliza Higgins.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, um, that's the song on the street where you live, right?
Of course. Da
That's the
da da
song.
da dum da
Yeah,
da da da
that
dum.
that's Freddie's
Da
song.
da 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 dum.
Yeah, there you
Da
go.
da 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 on the street where you live.
Live.
I
Right.
didn't kill that too badly, did I?
No, not
Okay.
at all. Not at
Not
all.
too
Yeah.
bad. Okay,
Yeah.
lower range is better for me.
But anyway, so the question is, who would play me? Um,
Uh-huh.
uh, let's see. I mean, I know I like actors. I don't think they would be me. I mean, uh,
We're pretending, so it could be an actor who's no longer with us as a persona
hmm
or as their features. What do you think?
I'd love to be played by Humphrey Bogart.
Okay. Okay, that's a start. That's good. What would the movie be called?
Um, I
Musical,
think
drama, romance? What
no,
would
I
it
think it'd
be?
be a drama. Yeah,
Okay.
I did.
Historical?
Yeah, historical.
Okay.
I mean, I loved a lot of his pieces. I once, in those days we didn't have, Google or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote every scene of Casablanca down,
Oh,
scene
oh
by
my.
scene, by the whole script. Um, so it probably would be some sort of historical thriller.
Okay. Oh, a thriller.
Yeah,
Now we're
yeah,
we're getting spicy here. Okay.
yeah. I like,
What would it be called? I need a title. What do you think?
mm, title. Wow. Uh, it's not what you thought.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. That's very, very interesting. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I like that unders, that kind of well, curiosity or just like, whoa, I didn't expect that. I love mystery and suspense movies. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be called Unexpected.
Unexpected. Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. While
Yeah.
you're talking, I'm trying to think what I would do for mine. And I was thinking it could be called Read My Lips, which is the title of my Monday show, or it could just be called TOO, Saucy Dames. And I would
Ooh,
be one of a group of dames and it would follow our lives. It would have some music, it would have some dancing, it would not be a thriller, it would be have a lot of romance, meet and
mhm.
greet, boy meets girl, boy finds another girl, boy meets different girl, girl cries, boy cries, and they get back together in the end. I like happy endings. And that's what it would be called. And I'm going with a redhead. It would be, oh, isn't Bette Midler a redhead? Isn't she? I can't
Uh,
remember. Famous redheads, Rita Hayworth? No,
mm,
she wouldn't fit. I think Reba McEntire. It would have to be a
there you go.
country theme. I've been
Yeah.
watching her new sitcom called Happy's Place. I didn't like it the
Yeah.
first couple weeks, and the writing is actually getting really, really good. And
Mm,
I am laughing out loud. I live alone, so it's echoing off the walls, but
mm,
I am laughing out loud during Happy's Place. It's getting very, very good, and I like it a lot. So. Yeah, so Reba McEntire would play me, and it would be
um,
called Two Saucy Dames, TOO,
just on
with
stage.
capital T. What do you think?
Yeah.
Can we do
I
it?
love it. Much, much, much cooler than Golden Girls.
Oh no, no, no! We wouldn't do that. That's for you. So
By the
coffee
way,
or yeah, yeah.
I realized that it just occurred to me that my mother named me after Ronald Coleman, the actor Ronald Colman.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was
All
one of her
right.
favorite actors. Yeah. Anyway,
I
that's an
I don't
aside.
know who my mother named me after. Bonnie Ellen. I have no idea where that came from. I don't know. It's a long story of where I was born, but it was in a hospital, but I'll tell you the story privately. Anyway,
Hey, okay.
coffee or tea? Brewed or instant, calf, decaf, homemade, store-bought, Starbucks, whatever, pods, latte, espresso, cappuccino, quantity, quality, cup or a mug, tea bag, loose tea. What do you like? What do you drink?
Mostly coffee.
Okay.
Uh, when I can, I love a good cappuccino or latte. Um, we don't have a maker at home, so I do we do buy the
The pods,
Starbucks pods. I'm,
K-cups.
yeah, I'm fine uh, with um, with Starbucks. I don't there are some good coffee places. I think that I do enjoy a good cup of coffee, and I realize that if it's a really good coffee, one cup will really do it. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when I have more than one cup, I'm like, no, that's yeah, it's still good, but it's that one cup. I
Yep.
really or and what I do sometimes is I'll say, okay, I'll try that second cup. So I make a second cup and I have half of it, and then I put the other half in the refrigerator and use it as the half cup the next day. Um, but I really enjoy a good latte. Um, um, I don't see much point in decaf, but um, I um, and I like tea, but I, I tend not to drink it. I think it's not that I'm a snob or anything. I feel that when you go out and drink teas, that unless it's a place that really knows how to do it, it's usually too too weak or warm. It's like you have to have really hot water and a good strong
Mm-hmm.
tea. Um, so when years ago when I spent 3 years with some friends touring around England and Scotland. So
Mm.
when you know of people who really know how to make good tea, then it's okay. Then it is like coffee to me. So, but it's a different, and I do like I do look at I sometimes will say, well, I'll just have a good peppermint tea before bed, some decaf tea, something or hibiscus tea.
Here we are. Oh, this is an Earl Grey. This is a mug that an advertising agency was giving out years ago. Truth,
Mm,
Story, and Love. Isn't that cool? And
nice.
this happens to be a decaf Earl Grey with I think it has bergamot. That's the scent. And I
Mm,
save the little foil pouch this comes in and
mm,
just sniff it sometimes. It's so good.
yeah.
I had to give up coffee, and I was years ago, I wanted to lose weight, and I went on a 10 cup a day coffee and
Oh.
rice diet, and it worked like a charm. And I had a little Mr. Coffee machine in my house when I was living in Great Neck, and it worked wonderfully. I
Mm.
cannot even go within sniffing distance of caffeine these days.
Oh, wow.
And I've tried decaf, and I have a Keurig machine, and I have an espresso. And my son-in-law makes my daughter and son-in-law, they make roast their own beans and their coffee. And yeah, they have an expensive machine and all
Mm,
that, and they love it. But he will make a cappuccino that I will actually tolerate the caffeine just to have, and he'll put the
mm.
little foam heart on the top,
Right,
and it's
right.
beautiful. I haven't had one in a while because they don't live so close to here. But the point is, I tried. I just wanted coffee the other day. I brought the Keurig machine in. I store it in the garage 'cause it's big for the counter. And I had some decent pods of decaf coffee. And I brewed it. And I don't like anything. I like it just strong the way it is. And I got to tell you, I got half a cup through half a cup, and it just started to taste tangy to me. There's
Mm.
a flavor, almost an acid flavor to
Mm-hmm.
coffee. So I put the rest of it in the fridge, and then I had a milkshake later on, and I put some of the coffee in the milkshake. I added a little banana and other things to it, a
Mm-hmm.
little cocoa, and it was delicious. I had such nightmares that night, I can't even tell you. I mean,
Oh,
bad, bad dreams. And I blamed on the coffee, so I spilled the rest. One cup lasted for the cup
yeah.
and for the milkshake, and there was still some left over, and I took the machine and put it away. But I cannot tolerate caffeine, and there's enough trace caffeine in decaf, I understand. There's still a small percent that it still gets to me, just
Yeah.
gets me very jittery. So I've switched to herbal teas. And I try to find even the Earl Grey in decaf. My store doesn't carry it anymore, but I love peppermint tea. And
Yeah.
I had a radio guest years ago on one of my SAP. I was the founder, debut of the creator of SAP Coffee Break with Game Changers. We didn't talk about coffee. We used to ask, "What's in your cup today?" That's what I asked. Instead of a quote, my guest brought me, "What's in your cup today?" And people
Mhm.
are on the show many times said, "I'm running out of things to tell you, Bonnie. I already told you about my cappuccino, told you about my celery water, told you about my tonic. Bring me a cup of something. Bring me something." I had a British gentleman who said, "You Americans, you use these dusty old tea bags. How could you? That's a travesty." And he said, "You have to have a bone china cup that's made with a certain millimeter of thinness of the china. And you put the loose tea into this tea ball and you put it in, and then the water has to be exactly," and he gave the exact degree of heat of the water, "and you pour it over it and you let it steep for," and he gave the exact number of minutes and seconds, Ron. And he said, "And that is how you make a good cup of coffee." Of tea. That is
Yeah.
how real tea is made by the
Right.
Brits who really understand it. So I always think of my tea bag as dusty old tea.
You feel like saying, yeah, and that's why we threw it all in Boston Harbor.
He shamed me. I didn't get that way with him, but it was funny. So I always remember whoever
Yeah.
this gentleman
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
So yes, so that's very interesting.
Yeah. So what I realized too, Bonnie, is that, I love it first thing in the morning. And I discovered, however, that I take our dog out, at
Mhm.
6:30 every morning,
What kind of
and
dog?
it's a golden retriever. She's still a puppy, 2 years old.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, is he
yeah.
big?
She's big.
She's
She's
big?
well, she's sort of squat actually, but
Okay.
she's when they say, "Oh, she needs to lose some weight," I'm like, she's just our little bear. That's what I
Okay.
call her. But
Bears
but
come in
then
all shapes and sizes, right?
yeah, yeah. But so I realized that I can't have the coffee before I take her out
Why?
because
Oh,
I'll have to pee
okay.
in the middle of our walk. I can't do that. So I have to wait until I come back. And
Sorry.
my worry was, oh my God, and but then what you realize is that you can change your habits. So
Yep.
like, so I have some friends who are like, oh, I can't do anything till I have my first cup of coffee,
I know,
and
I know.
it's not true. I don't need that at all. I don't need coffee to wake up.
Yep.
It's a nice habit. I have it when I come back, but I don't need it. And as a matter
I
of fact, I remember listening to a podcast by this guy named Andrew Uberman, who was a neuroscientist from Stanford, who would say that, actually, if you can, you should wait. If you want a cup of coffee, you
mm.
should wait till like 11 o'clock,
Oh
because
boy.
you have it late. If you have it earlier, the tendency is for you to have a post caffeine crash mid afternoon.
Really interesting, because when I post the promos for my Technology Revolution show, I say it's at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, wakey uppy, 11 a.m. Eastern, fourth cuppa, question mark. And I always put that in on LinkedIn. I haven't got any comments on it. Very, very interesting. Yep, 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 yep.
Yep.
Okay. Well, glad to know that you walk the dog. And I have my morning is soon after I get up, I like to have a banana milkshake. And this is
Mm,
either 1% or regular milk in one of those Hamilton Beach individual blenders with
mm,
it's a pulse button. It doesn't have an on-off switch. You have to hold it, which I
mm.
like. And the container has a lid on it with a little pull thing, a little spout that you can pull the cover off and put a straw in it. I take the cover off and put the straw in. So it's 6 to 8 ounces of milk, and then it's frozen sliced strawberries, unsweetened, and then
Wow.
it's a little bit of agave syrup instead of sugar, probably the same damage, and half a banana or a full banana based on if it's ripe, and sometimes a little sprinkle of cocoa, dry cocoa,
Oh,
Hershey's
nice.
100% unsweetened, and it's the little tang of the strawberry with the chocolate with the banana, which solidifies it, and that's my morning brew.
Sounds
So
delicious.
it's time for I have to say this, say what? It's the segment of the show where we talk about say what? Wacky news stories. So, would you like to share anything visual? Because you have the share button on the bottom of Zoom if
Uh,
you'd like to share.
I'm okay. You gave me some suggestions, which
Mine
I
are all
love.
visual. So, you do one and then I'll do one. Let's tandem here. So, you do one and then I'll do one.
Okay, well, the one, let's see. I don't have them up on my screen though. Do you have copies of these? The ones that you suggested? Because I love them. Um,
No,
just
go find them in your email. That's okay. Take a minute.
okay, all right, okay,
Take a minute.
okay.
Go find them.
Oh, well, let's see. No, I do have them in my um um.
We're taking a pause if anybody's wondering. Ron is looking for his wacky stories.
I do have them. Okay, so
All right, what's
um
your first one?
uh, this is the Carpe Diem with everyday Latin phrases.
Okay, why don't you explain it to us?
Okay. Um.
I'm gonna put you on speaker view. Go ahead.
Okay. Um. These are just interesting Latin phrases that you don't think about, but they've become part of our culture. And even though, as this article points out, no one speaks Latin, the impact of our Roman Empire, is really sticks with us. And um, no one can see this though, right? They're not.
Well, you can put it on. You can go on speaker. You can hit the share button at the bottom and show us on your screen if you want to show us.
Well, let's see.
You have the article in front of you.
I do. I do.
Okay, if you hit share, and then it'll say screen, and just hit screen, and it will show us whatever is on your screen. But if you're reading it on your phone, we won't see it. It would have to be on your. It would have to be on your desktop.
No, it's on my desktop. So,
Okay. So
um,
hit the share button at the middle of your Zoom screen. It's a green share button with an arrow. Hit that.
yep, got it. Okay.
And then it gives you an option and it'll say screen, share screen. Do you see that on the left?
Yep. Screen. Okay.
It's screen. And then we're going to see whatever's on your screen, just so you know.
Okay.
Okay. You got to hit
Um,
that share. At the bottom of the screen, it says share once you're on screen. There we go.
okay.
All right. All right. What are we looking at?
Not my calendar here. I don't want to do that. Let's see.
Okay. Double click the story, Carpe Diem.
This is why I'm having.
You see the file? You want to skip this?
Let's see.
Because
Let
we're
me just.
losing traction here.
Yep.
You want to just double click that Carpe Diem story and we'll see it?
I'm just trying to figure out where does it say?
It's right at the top there. It's highlighted. Carpe diem with everyday Latin phrases. Just double
Got it.
click it. Open
Okay.
open the document.
Got it.
There you
Okay.
go.
There we go. All right.
There
There
you
we go.
go. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think that these are interesting phrases that we talk about all the time. So caveat emptor and carpe diem.
Hasn't
Um,
opened yet, Ron.
it hasn't opened. Uh,
Nope. We're just seeing it spinning. It's just frozen. Why
mm,
don't you unshare? Why don't you hit unshare until you get it? Yeah, hit unshare. There we go. You're back. Okay, just talk us through it.
okay. So I'll just do that. Okay.
Yep.
So. Um, yeah, I think that this is a lot of our languages comes out of the Germanic roots, but the Latin is the one that seems to still stick with us, which being a writer, I always enjoy. I use it though judiciously. If there's English that says that, um, but just like there are other languages that really don't translate that well. So things like ad hoc or I mean one thing that people use a lot is this carpe diem, which I think is um, is sort of a personal mantra. I think
Mm-hmm.
right. We want to think about seizing our day every time it comes up. Pluck the day, seize the day, and then of course caveat emptor, right, which is let the buyer beware, which is something that is coming up more and more as we are in this era, as you well know, of technology and scams.
Yep.
You've got to really watch out for this.
I'm showing the article so you can do it now. I'm showing it on my screen. So we've
All
got
right.
ad hoc. All right. Caveat emptor. Which one are you on now?
Um, bona fides. Well, the second one is bona fides, yeah, which is
Okay, bona fides, right? Bona
right,
fides.
right, right.
Good faith.
Yep, good faith, and often, now we say, oh, well, show me your bona fides. Um, if you really want to size someone up, um, um, uh, do ex machina.
Yep.
Uh, so you know, that's something that I try to be prepared for, um, because lots of times you get stuck on things. So be prepared for a person that suddenly and unexpectedly provides a solution. You're looking so hard for the solution, you're not going to find it, but just be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
For someone who can help you when you least expect it. Um, and
I don't think anybody used the next one anymore, do they?
No, I don't think in flagrante delitto, in blazing crime. I think we should use this more, though. I think this
For
seems to
those of you
be
who are too young to know what this means, usually you're caught in the act of something that you don't want people to see, right?
right, right.
And it's usually an sex type of an act. Okay, let's move on. What else have you got?
No, I think that's the. Let's. Oh, is there
Any
more?
more? There's a second page here.
Yeah, second page. Let's see. Um, well, in memoriam, of course, is I think just become part of our language, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we don't even say in memory of. It's in memoriam.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Um, magnum opus, I think that's another one where it's like it just seems more impactful than
It's grand.
great. Yeah, there's a grandness to it. Magnum opus. So I think that there are good reasons to really not use English and go back to our roots.
Mm-hmm.
Mea culpa. Yep. From Roman Catholic Mass. Yeah. Okay. Um, uh, but not used that often. People, I think it's my fault, but mea culpa, I think, um, I think gives it a little bit of a higher sense of, religious culpability, and
Mm-hmm.
entering to a higher force, a higher power. Um, yeah, non sequitur. I think again is just become part of our language, right?
Very. And I used to have, I don't remember who I was with, if I was dating somebody or was with my husband years ago. We used to say NS. We just abbreviated NS. And we'd say,
Mm,
no, that was a non sequitur. We're not going to talk about that. Or if somebody got off
mhm.
topic, seriously, NS, let's get back to the topic. So we use that as a shorthand. Persona non grata, we've all known that,
Yeah,
like leave
and
right now, leave the
yeah,
party.
yeah, yeah. You're a person, and quid pro quo again is I think just part of our language now. It's like that's what it is. Um, it's punchier and it says something for something, but it gives it
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of an edge to it.
Well, it has a lot of political overtones today, but we won't get into that. And the
Yeah, it
next
does.
one, I don't think anybody under a certain age would know what this is. Veni, Vidi, Vici?
Yeah, I saw, I won, I conquered it. So
Conquered. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Julius Caesar back in the day. Well, that was interesting. Okay, I'm going to share mine.
okay,
I have a couple. I'm going to do all three of them, okay?
okay, good,
And I think you're going to enjoy these because I picked them especially focusing on what I know you like. And so let me share my screen here. I'm all ready to go. Desktop, share. Here we go. Okay. First one, what's the best time for taking a nap? And I had this in mind when I picked this, Ron, because of you and 45 forward. Let me get rid of this file back here. Okay. 45 forward, people might be saying, well, as I get older, I think it's time for me to take a nap. So the
mm-hmm.
best time to take a nap is 1:42 p.m. in whatever time zone you're in.
Mm,
The ideal nap is 51 minutes. Good luck with timing that. Anything longer than an hour and 26 minutes is a danger zone because you're going to get groggy and
mm-hmm.
it's going to interfere with your sleep. The debate is, do you want TV on or any kind of white noise or music, anything, or silence? Sleep experts often recommend quiet, dark rooms for napping. 44% of people like having background noise.
Mm.
Interesting. 50% prefer noise while sleeping at night. Nearly half fall asleep with the TV on. I've been known to do that. How about you? Do you ever fall asleep with the TV on?
Nope, we don't. We specifically decided we're not going to have the TV in our bedroom at
I don't
all.
either. but I fall asleep
And
on the couch when I'm watching TV. That's the
well,
problem.
I tend to kind of see my eyes going. I'm like, you know what? Just go to bed.
Just go to bed. And they talked, are nappers more successful in life? 48% I'll tell you where the research was done,
Hmm.
report having a thriving social life more than. They say they have better satisfaction in their love life. And they say that they care about more about sustainable choices just by a little bit of an edge. These are close. The research was done by Avocado Green Mattress. So they're the ones who commissioned it. Of course they did. They surveyed 2,000 Americans online through research. This is done this year, just a couple weeks ago. They looked at napping habits, preferences, and how they connect to other parts of people's lives and people from all walks of life. I thought you'd find that interesting, and you might want to, I can send you this if you want to put it in one of your 45 Forward newsletters.
Sure, I think this is the whole issue of sleep. I think is incredibly important. This same guy I mentioned before, Andrew Woodman, did a whole series on sleep, in his
Mm-hmm.
podcast. And I think, yeah, and people say, those who get good sleep have longer lives.
There
Those
you
who
go.
don't get good sleep, it has health impacts.
There you
And
go.
but to your point, there are individual differences. So
Yep.
I'm a I'm a super napper, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
but my wife says I can't take naps, and I'm like, well, okay, I can't argue with you,
Yep.
but I do find that what, there's nothing like a good nap within the bounds that you mentioned. If you
I could always
too
tell how
long,
long a nap is because if I missed a segment of a TV show, I remember where I was awake and I
there you go.
back on demand, I replay it, I go backwards and I find, yes, and then I say, okay, that was about 20 minutes. So that's that. If it's more than that, I just go to bed if it's a
Right.
big deal. Let me show you the next article. I
Okay.
think you will really enjoy this. And this is really for 45 Forward. Hold on, here we go. Grandma's on Demand. This is a mobile advice stand, and Grandma Connie at 86th and Broadway. This was conceived by Upper West Side resident Mike Matthews. It's a
Hmm.
mobile station where you can stop and talk to a grandma for free advice or somebody to just listen to you. He started it in 2012 when a coworker needed some help, some support, and he said, "Call my grandma Eileen." So they spoke over the weekend, and the coworker said Eileen was just wonderful. And he said, "My grandma has so much love, and her presence is too big for our family. She needs something else to do." So he came up with the idea of the Grandma Stand. Look at this. Can you believe this? This is in New York. Grandma Stand with a hashtag. And so he started he's famous for a viral marriage proposal, apparently, and he gave gift bags to MTA workers during the pandemic and
Hmm.
Halloween door decorating. So he's been out there in public doing this. So he bought a lemonade stand and he created a booth where New Yorkers could FaceTime with Grandma Eileen. Every Saturday, he selected a different location, primarily on the Upper West Side. I'm going to move on
Hmm.
here. We'll see another picture. Each week, he came up with a different question. What brings you joy right now? What's weighing on your mind? What is a discussion you need to have with your parents that you can have with grandma? And grandma's work, it just worked for the model. It was great. Unfortunately, Eileen passed away, but fortunately, she lived to 102. This
Wow.
was in 2018, and he put away the grandma stand. Well, a few months ago, he decided to bring it back. It's a small thing, but it makes people happy. So now we have Grandma Connie in Central Park,
Hmm.
and the stand has a rotation of six grandmothers. You're in New York, Ron. You might run into
Yeah.
this. Three in person and three virtual. You have a different grandma every week. That's the goal. Grandma Connie is a favorite. And a grandma who listens has to be a listener. For this grandma has to be a listener rather than a talker. Here's one at 97th and Broadway. And this is a remote grandma, and she is actually giving remote advice. So she is not
Wow.
there. She's on a screen. He chooses the question of the week from 5 prompts he puts on his Instagram account, and then he announces where the stand will be. It motivates people to reach out to their own grandparents and elderly mentors and reminds us of the value of seniors. You can follow it at Grandma Stand on Instagram and TikTok. And they're also looking for people to apply. GrandmaStandNewYork at gmail.com. So if you know
Wow.
anybody, I might do that, even though I'm not in New York anymore. I don't know. And
You
here's
can
my
do it
last.
virtually. Yeah.
Yeah, I could do it virtually. And here's the last one. I thought you'd enjoy this. This is 10. Let me move this down to the next page so we can get it all on one page. This is 10 games, mostly board games,
Mm.
that their history. And this one, Monopoly, was originally called the landlord's game, invented by an anti-monopolist named Elizabeth Maggie in 1903, and she promoted Georgism, which was land taxation to counteract social justice. That's how
Wow.
monopoly was founded. Then we have chess, of course, and it comes from the 7th century in India called chatrang. It
Hmm.
originated from a Persian name meaning the king is dead, and eventually,
Right.
well, we know how chess is so popular. Clue. I went online and I picked up the actual pictures of the board games from Amazon and other sites. This was called Cluedo, Cluedo. It's a murder mystery game created by Anthony E. Pratt during World War II as entertainment during air raid blackouts. And we won't go into that. Its
Hmm.
setting was a country house, but successive versions included new locations, new characters, and new weapons. I think we're all familiar with. And these are
Hmm.
little things that were on the Amazon here. And
Right.
so people were buying it. The study, the hall, was it Professor Plum or so and so in the ballroom, in
Right.
the kitchen? So we all know Clue, most of us. Scrabble. I play Words with Friends online, which is like for digital Scrabble.
Hmm.
Alfred Butts, he was an unemployed architect during the Great Depression, Ron, 1929. He developed Scrabble in 1938. It was originally named Lexico, Lexiko, and later Crisscross Words. It combined anagrams and crossword puzzles to test vocabulary and strategy. It became so popular that TV networks made game shows, and now there's a Scrabble World Championship.
Right.
Then we have Risk,
Mm.
designed by a French filmmaker, Albert Lamouris, in the 1950s. Global domination, we won't go into that one. Through strategic conquests of different regions of 6 continents, it was called the Conquest of the World. Then we had the delightful Candyland, which is
Oh
still
yeah.
manufactured
Hmm.
today.
Hmm.
And this was created by Eleanor Abbott, who was a polio patient in the 1940s. She invented it as a distraction for kids who were recovering from polio. The
Wow.
board and the gameplay provided a colorful journey through a world of sweets with joy and imagination. She partnered with the Milton Bradley Toy Company, the board game company, and it became a popular game in the U.S. Okay, so that was it. I don't know where she was. It says in the U.S., so it must be, she might have been somewhere else. The Settlers of Catan. Have you ever heard of that game? I
No,
never.
I haven't heard.
I
No.
never had. Designed by in 1995, it revolutionized board gaming. German Klaus Tuber, created it to provide an engaging activity for his family, inspired by the history of Viking settlers in Iceland and Norway. And
Mm.
it created popularity around the world. And let's go to the next one here. And we all know Trivial
Oh,
Pursuit.
here
I'm
we
going
go.
down to the next page here. And I copied the picture. I had to cut it off
Hmm.
though because there were too of Trivial Pursuit. And this is the French version of Trivial Pursuit. Okay, that's the one I found online. Scott Abbott and Chris Haney, Canadian journalists, conceived Trivial Pursuit back in 1979 because they couldn't find the pieces for their Scrabble game.
Oh,
So they
gee.
created a pub quiz type of a game. They created combined trivia from various categories into a competitive board game where players race each other to the finish line. I did not know that. Did you?
No, I did not know that
And
part
then
of
we
it.
have
Nope.
Battleship,
Hmm.
thought to be inspired by the French war game L'Attaque. It began
Hmm.
as a pencil and paper game,
Right.
eventually manufactured with plastic boards and pegs by, again, Milton Bradley in 1967. And they have different rules, but the core concept is the same. And then Twister, they included in the article. It's a physical game. It's not a board game. We all know you put your hands and your feet on spots on a plastic mat.
Right.
It was created by board game designers Charles Foley and Neil Rabins in 1966, who wanted a game that tested physical agility and balance. They
Mm.
went to Milton Bradley again, who embraced the concept and created the the basically a game board, if you will, for
Right.
a physical game. So those were my 3 articles.
Wow.
What'd you think?
I think they're
Cool
terrific.
beans?
Yeah, very, very cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I did
remember
those
actually.
with you in mind. Is there anything else you wanted to do from the two remaining, or do you think
No, I'm
you've
good. I'm good.
you've had
I
enough?
think that end on that note, that's really I love that stuff.
Okay.
You know, I remember actually playing the pencil and paper version of Battleship when I was a kid.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Really? And I love Candyland and I love
Hmm.
Scrabble. I'm a word person, you know that. And I don't know too many of the others. Candyland and Scrabble, and I don't remember Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah.
I had one of those, and they had specialty versions. I think I had one for Seinfeld. I got it at a
Mm.
garage sale for $1, and nobody knew how to
Wow.
play it. It was Trivial Pursuit for the Seinfeld show because there were so many
Wow.
things. Yeah, I think there are specialty versions. So, any advice you have for your people at 45 Forward, all your vast audience, Ron, are as far as people who want to become a saucy dame or a cool dude? Any advice? Anything you want to share?
You know, as you go through life, you look at, you learn from your mistakes, and sometimes you regret them, and sometimes you just let them go. Um, and I guess one of the things about, you know, we talked about curiosity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so one is staying curious all through life, but the other thing is sort of calming, because a lot of things don't go your way, and and you always sort of wonder, like, what I could I have done that? I wish I thought of that. I wish I knew that. And so one of my little mantras these days is, I've done the best I could.
Mm.
And keep in mind, as long as you're focused, and there are certain aspects of, I do think about be kind is another one,
Mm-hmm.
but that just to acknowledge yourself. This is another part of self-care, right? I did the
Mm-hmm.
best I could.
With what I
Let
had at the time
Yeah,
and what I
exactly.
knew at the time.
Right. And it's okay for now. And so
Yeah.
things don't, last forever. I did the best I could. Things will change. Um, and to be, resilient enough to just accept that. You know, one of
Mm-hmm.
one of the phrases that, my therapist, has mentioned to me is the term radical acceptance. And
That's a
and
new
it's
one.
yeah, and it's a notion that, being able to accept the things that are not going to change. Um, but
Yeah.
it's not resignation, it's simply acceptance, and in many cases, helps you lead toward change. Once you accept where you are for now, you can change and pivot. And sort of it frees you from trying to hold on to things.
I think pivot is a very important word that goes
Yeah.
with resilience. It goes with mindfulness. It goes with being present, being in the room.
Hmm.
I don't pre-record any of my shows, Ron. I only do live, and I tell my guests it is what it is. The French phrase
Hmm.
is "c'est ça." That's it. It is what it is.
Right.
And I don't want to scrub. I don't want to delete. I don't want to remove. It is what it is. And to me, that's how life is. We can do
Hmm.
something different going forward, but each moment is here and then it's gone. And
Hmm.
that's the way it was, and that's the way it is. So people say, "Oh, you have a podcast, and you edit it." And I say, "Nope, it's without a net. You got to come on. You just got to be who you are." And I have really enjoyed speaking with you. You and I have become friends over the years since you were on my Next at the Mike show,
Hmm.
and that I used to do for Voice America Variety, as I said when we started. And we found so many intersections of our lives, even though we have never met in person,
Right.
which is interesting. The growing up on Long Island, the New York, a lot of the politics around the 9/11 time in New York. I was a journalist, you were a journalist. My mom and me being on the cover of Act Two, which you started for
Hmm.
Newsday. We know Dan Babeo, who is a writer for Newsday still and an actor. He was one of the stars of my original romantic comedy play that I wrote called Hail Hail. And Hail, a very, very fun show. I think I sent you the link. And
Hmm.
we have found so many intersections. We both ended up at Voice America on different channels over the years, and we could have been neighbors. So Ron R. Roel, Roel, if anybody's looking for him, where
Hmm.
can people find your show now, 45 Forward? Where is it?
Well, I think since there's a lot of change, it's
Any
going to be.
news? Any big news?
No, and I won't say yet. I mean, I
Okay.
may change platforms, but basically, you will be able to find it on my website for sure.
Which is
roelresources.com, and then
ROELRESOURCES.com. Okay, go
right,
ahead.
right, and then I'm also developing a YouTube channel, 45 Forward. So that's in development,
Nice.
but you can see the archive of all the previous shows on
Good.
my website. Yeah, yeah,
Good.
yeah. So.
So let me play the music, and it was lovely to see you again. This is only the second time I've seen you face to face, and it's all digital and virtual, and I appreciate that. And it's really been fun talking to you. And I'm going to play our outro music and let's
Okay.
see if everything's going to go. And then stick around and we'll talk. I want to take some pictures. So here we go.
Okay.
So you want to be. So you are.
So,
So
you
we
wanna
are.
be
A cool kid. Hanging. Looking real.
Right. Dancing in place.
Fun. Got to bring my drumsticks in next time. I am a drummer too. Here we go. Bop, 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 bop. Thank you to my friend Serge Hoffman for singing my lyrics and creating the music to go with it. Ron R., it's been a pleasure. Wave goodbye to the